The idea that a family loses their child to something like this, it makes it particularly difficult to deal with. It didn't bother him to shoot and kill Dominique Williams in front of a crowd of people. In fact, it sort of aided what he was trying to do. Looking back on it, I'm convinced that he wanted a crowd around. He wanted people to see him do that because I think that, in his mind, gives him the respect.
Dominique Williams and several friends drive to meet 15-year-old John Ira Duncan III, who has spread the word that he has marijuana for sale. Witnesses say the encounter ends with Williams, 17 years old, driving off with the marijuana without paying Duncan for it. The following day, the two again come face to face, and they fight. An onlooker records the fisticuffs with a cell phone.
Beat him, beat him, beat him, beat him.
Most consider the fight a draw, but Duncan still doesn't have the money or his weed. He vows to shoot Williams by 7 p.m. the next day, Sunday, July 19th, 2015. As that hour passes, word of the stolen pot, the fight, and Duncan's pledge have circulated by word of mouth and on social media. Duncan's friends razz him. "Why haven't you shot Williams yet?"
He set himself up for that. John Duncan goes out and tells everybody, Dom Williams is going to be dead by 7 o'clock if he doesn't get me his marijuana. He was somebody that most of the witnesses said would always say that he was going to hurt somebody, or that he would do a certain thing, and that most of them didn't take him seriously.
Throughout the day, Duncan has been working the phone, calling friends in an attempt to learn Williams' whereabouts. He tells one of those friends that he has, quote, a .40 caliber waiting on Williams, end quote. That evening, still agitated, Duncan meets another friend for a walk to the beach. Duncan has learned Williams is in the Coligny area of Hilton Head Island. He and his friend are captured on town surveillance cameras walking in the area. The other friends Duncan has been calling all day start talking to each other. They begin to wonder if Duncan might actually be serious about shooting Williams. A few try to call Duncan to calm him down. Duncan does not answer.
I think it was an interesting dynamic in that I think you had people that on one hand did not particularly take John Duncan seriously, but on the other hand still had something in the back of their mind that he's saying this too often. It is something that we need to take seriously, and people were taking steps to try to get him to back off, to no avail.
Williams has spent the day playing mini golf and eating lunch with friends. As sunset approaches, they walk along the Coligny Beach boardwalk. Duncan and his friend are walking in the opposite direction. Duncan spots Williams and begins walking briskly towards him, his friend later tells Beaufort County Sheriff's Office investigators. The friend says that, to this point, he hadn't taken Duncan's vow to retaliate against Williams seriously, but he watches as Duncan pulls a handgun from a purple bag, points it in Williams' face, and shoots him just below the right eye. One witness hears Duncan shout, "That's what you get." Duncan runs away towards South Forest Beach Drive. His friend, who has not been charged in Williams' shooting, approaches the scene of Williams' shooting but then walks away in a different direction than Duncan. Two bystanders perform CPR on Williams, but he is already dead when Hilton Head Island Fire and Rescue arrives, less than 6 minutes after the shooting. At about that time, one of the friends Duncan has been calling earlier in the day receives another call from him. Duncan is out of breath. "He's dead," Duncan declares. Nearby, another friend hears the sirens wailing and sees the emergency lights flashing. He hitches a ride to Coligny and watches as law enforcement works the crime scene. Authorities use a canine unit to comb the area, but neither Duncan nor a murder weapon are found. Authorities continue to search for Duncan, interviewing several friends and family. At the urging of his family, Duncan turns himself in 2 days after the shooting. He does not give a statement. He is taken to the Department of Juvenile Justice in Columbia. Duncan is charged with murder and possession of a weapon during commission of a violent crime. 14th Circuit Solicitor Duffie Stone prosecutes the case, and a family court judge determines Duncan is to be tried as an adult.
When you move an individual out of juvenile court, you don't just do it. You have to go through what's called a waiver process. We have to make a case, basically try a good bit of the case in front of the family court judge, and the family court judge then makes the decision whether or not the defendant is to be handled in family court or adult court. There was a great deal of information that the judge had to take into consideration, so we never took that for granted. What we never questioned, however, was our desire to move the case out of family court to adult court. This took place, John Duncan shot and killed Dominique Williams within a month of his 16th birthday. If he was 16, because murder is one of those delineated crimes, he would have automatically been considered an adult. We wouldn't have had to go through the process of getting him out of family court. The other thing to consider is that if you are in juvenile court, they can keep you until your 21st birthday. They can incarcerate you until your 21st birthday. That was not a substantial enough penalty for murder, in my view. So it was not a question whether or not we were going to do everything we could to move him up, because we felt like that was the right thing to do.
On Thursday, May 9th, 2019, a Beaufort County General Sessions Court jury finds Duncan guilty of murder. They need only 11 minutes to reach their verdict. Circuit Court Judge Brooks P. Goldsmith delays sentencing, but Duncan faces 30 years to life. Penalties for murder in South Carolina are day-for-day sentences, meaning the earliest Duncan could be released is the year 2045. He would be 45 years old.
Every case I try, you always look back and you try to figure out how could this have been prevented, other than just somebody not willing to take another person's life. It has to be horrifying to be a parent, knowing that there are teenagers that are willing to get their hands on guns and settle their disputes by shooting and killing another teenager. I think that what you take away is that I think you have to take everyone seriously if they are willing to threaten somebody else with a handgun. It's not a joke. It's not funny. And it's not something that you can ignore or make fun of. I told you at the beginning of this case that it was about respect. And that fight didn't get him that respect he wanted. He says he thought he won it, but everybody was laughing. If you got any questions about that, I want you to think about something that Justin Morrow said when he was on the witness stand. It's like the last question that I asked him. He told you he was going to shoot him. Did you take him seriously? No, I didn't. Do you take him seriously now? Yes. The irony of this case is John Duncan got exactly what he wanted. He got the respect. And how did he do it? He killed for it.